Hello and welcome to this week's Ask Me Anything Live. My name is Gert from SEOleverage.com. So great to have you around. Let's see if we're set up already. Okay, that sound looks good. Let's jump right in. These Ask Me Anything sessions, I'm doing them every single Friday at 10 a.m. Central European time. This should be 6 p.m. Sydney, I think. And the idea here is really to kind of talk about questions that have been coming up with our clients' projects during the week and clarify them, because if there's a client having this question, there's probably also some of you going to have these questions. And the other thing is just to have a direct way of getting in touch and asking a question live on this call. I would say let's jump in. It's not going to be only about SEO today. It's a little bit more varied, so that's going to be fun. Let's see. Which project management software do you recommend? So that's an interesting one. I'm very much into tools. I've got a technical background. I have been doing web development for many years. So I have been probably testing roughly 20 different project management systems over the years. Some team members of mine know that we have been switching quite a bit, and I always ended up with one system I really can recommend, which is Teamwork. So teamwork.com is a very solid project management system. They even have a support ticket integration and even a chat, I think, if you want to use it. We only use the project management system. And the thing I really like about Teamwork is that it allows me to define the permissions and define who can see what. For example, we sometimes have external collaborators helping us with content creation, for example, or video creation or whatever. And they don't have to see everything on a project. They don't only have to see their part, which is, for example, the video production. So what we can do with Teamwork, which doesn't work, I think, with Asana, or at least I didn't when I last checked it out, is that we define permissions for this external collaborator to just see this section while my team sees the entire project. And this is a very flexible approach for us. It allows us to work with the best people on every aspect that do not have to have in-depth knowledge or see data or information, etc., about the entire project. But we can still have one project focused on a client or on a particular task, and they can just be brought in. Another thing I like about Teamwork is that you can define templates. So for example, whenever we do a site audit, there are certain steps we want to make sure we do. Our site audits have 4 phases, for example. So there is a task for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. When they are ready, I get them to revise and to analyze and to add my grain of salt, my 2 cents to them. And we also have a process, what happens before an audit. We have a briefing with the client. What happens after the audit? We have a call with the client. What happens afterwards? We usually reach out and see how things are going, and if we can help with implementation. So we have a template. So whenever there is an audit coming in, I'll take this template and create this, and it's going to assign all kinds of tasks around the audit performance or the audit execution to the different team members. Some tasks are for me, some tasks are for the team. And this makes it very easy to follow a standardized process and guarantee you get to the same level of quality on every single audit we do. Another thing about Teamwork I really like is the support. So they are outstanding, very quick support, very quick resolution of any questions we have. Initially, Teamwork might seem a little bit more complex than maybe Asana, which essentially is a long task list and a team section. But I do have to say that once you get used to using it a little bit, it's a very flexible approach. You can copy and paste screenshots. We often do. You can add files. You have a lot of functionalities we don't even touch. We probably use 25% of what Teamwork really does, but we have had great success with it. We also have time tracking there in case you want to have your team track the time on tasks, and then you can just say how much time has been spent. We do this with external collaborators, for example. We pay by the hour, and they just track their time. We know how much time they have spent on certain tasks. They invoice us based on their teamwork time tracking, for example, and that also works very well. So teamwork.com is really something I can very much recommend. What is keyword cannibalization? This is a term that comes up very often in SEO. If you do some research about how to optimize a website or a piece of content, or get more rankings, get more traffic to your site, cannibalization is a very important term. That's also, I would probably say, where we spend most of the time in audits and Erica consulting sessions, and also in the coaching program we have. We very often come across these issues. Cannibalization essentially means one page eating up the other page's potential to rank. This happens especially when you have two pieces, or sometimes it's 20 or 30 or 50. We've seen everything already. Multiple pieces talking about essentially the same thing. So then Google has a real problem. Imagine you have a site that's selling, I don't know, iPhone accessories, and they've got 20 articles talking about how great it is if you've got iPhone accessories. They might mention one accessory or the other one, but there might not be a very clear distinction on every single article what this is about, because all are about iPhone accessories. Okay, what happens in these cases is that Google has a very hard time to figure out which of those 20 articles to rank if someone searches for iPhone accessories. And whenever this happens, that it's very hard for Google, and Google has to pick one, it means that we can optimize the site's SEO. We need to make sure from an SEO point of view that we do not leave it up to Google to pick a URL for a certain search or search intent. We need to make it absolutely sure, with quite a few different tactics and strategies, that Google knows exactly which URL corresponds to which search intent, to which keyword. We don't want to have ambiguities. We don't want to have multiple pages cannibalizing each other, because what happens at the end of the day is that neither of those pages is going to rank on page 1. They're going to rank on maybe page 2, probably page 3 to 10. They might rank, some of them at least. It might also change across different countries. So if we've got clients, for example, where they had one URL ranking in Australia, one URL ranking in the States, another one in the UK, and a different one in Canada, because Google just picked one. And it was really putting in the appropriate strategies, tactics, internal linking, that made sure that Google, in all their data centers around the world, knew exactly which of those URLs needed to be ranked. Sometimes this involves getting rid of 19 to have one ranking. Sometimes this means revising maybe 10 articles to make sure they talk about certain types of iPhone accessories, for example, and every page talks about another type. Sometimes this means merging a few articles into one and create another one about iPhone covers, for example, or iPhone tripods or whatever, and merge all the tripod articles together, and you have a piece of content that can be uniquely identified by Google for being responsible for tripods. So as you can see, a lot of SEO work is really organizing content and making sure that Google doesn't just pick one, but knows exactly what we want him to do. This is a very common question. I'm not ranking in the top 100 rankings with one keyword, but I have others ranking on number 1. So that's a very common one, because it really, every query is different. Every search query is different. Every search intent is different. So we can't, years ago, it seemed to be more depending on the niche you were in. So the niche of real estate was behaving differently on Google than the niche of for lawyers, for example, or the construction niche. Today, what we know is that every search query is completely different, even within the same niche. So your website might just be the perfect fit for a few keywords, but might be not a fit at all for others. if you have number one rankings, and especially if this is a competitive space where you're in, or slightly competitive at least, there is a good chance that your website has enough of authority to get at least to page one with those other keywords. But you definitely want to go back and look at your article that's not ranking in the top 100 and look at all the 10 articles coming up on page one. And then check out what are the difference. It's very likely that there is a big difference between those two. Another reason why this can happen, other than not corresponding to what Google wants to show on page one, is that you got what they call an algorithmic penalty. So Google sometimes issues penalties to sites. So those can be manual penalties where there's really a person on Google based on certain previous signals checking out the situation, issuing a manual penalty, and then you have a process going to recover this penalty. Another thing is an algorithmic penalty where Google automatically will reduce your visibility for a certain topic. So we've seen this before on I think it was a car classified site that came to us saying, look, we are not ranking anymore for this city, for example, because they did some shady link building, they did some things they shouldn't have done. And Google algorithmically, so automatically in their algorithm, decided that this site is not going to get any visibility anymore for this topic. So this is one of the reasons that which might happen in these cases. If you don't have any visibility and your content is great, you might just have a manual penalty. If you think this might be happening for you, just send us an email to support@seoleverage.com. We're happy to check out and give you our 2 cents on what might be happening. But definitely, it could also just be that the piece of content you're trying to rank is not matching at all what Google wants to rank. And the third thing you can do is check the internal linking. So if there are no internal links at all pointing to this content that corresponds to this keyword, it's also a way to a reason why it might not be ranking right now. Another request we got was, help, my top keywords are going down. This is a very common one. We just had a Google update, and this essentially really means if you had rankings very well. I know a production company we had as a client a couple of months back. They had been ranking on page one for quite a while, and then dropped every few weeks. They dropped like one ranking until they ended up on page 2, and the phone didn't ring anymore. There were no requests anymore, no proposal requests anymore. What happened in these cases is that Google just changed because users change. So change is the only constant in life, as they say. So this also happens for search. So what you essentially want to do is you want to check out what do you have, what do the top 10 ranking pages have in terms of content, content structure, internal linking, external linking, and see if you're still competitive. So if users expect something completely different, Google is going to change and drop your rankings. It might also be related to freshness. So sometimes it's good practice, especially in niches that move quite a bit in terms of technology, evolution, etc., progress, to go in and update your articles. This doesn't mean you always have to have the latest news on this article, but you want to update it. You want to rewrite it a little bit. You want to correspond more to what users are searching for. You might want to change your content structure and say, look, the second paragraph topic should really go first because this is so important. And also this is what Google is telling us that they want to see. So definitely update those articles, get the updated date, reset to a more current date, because sometimes articles just get outdated and Google in this niche might want to show something fresher. The last question today is, what does your typical working day look like? That's an interesting one. Not SEO related, but I'm still going to be as transparent as possible. This is Ask Me Anything after all. So a typical working day for me is to first check my clients' projects, rankings, evolution, data. We've got applications that give us like an overview of what's happening on the different sites. If there is anything major happening, we want to know first, even especially before our clients do, and see and inform our clients on what's happening. So there might be an update affecting them. There might be a penalization they're going through. There might be rankings dropping slowly and they don't know about it yet, or they want to know why this happens. So we want to have the first-hand information. Sometimes something I also do every day in the morning is check SEO news. Okay, I'm not too big right now on Twitter. I open it up once a day just to see if there's anything more urgent than waiting for the news of the next days. But definitely, we always, the entire team checks SEO news. We want to know what's happening. We want to know what might be happening. Sometimes they announce possible updates a little bit before Google does, and want to know what's happening in the industry, because this is just so important. There might be some new ways on how we can attract traffic. There might be some interesting strategies, case studies, etc. We are always learning. We're learning every single day. So this is really one of the most important parts of what we do, I think. Then we have at least 3 times a day, we have a Zoom call with the entire team, where we make sure everybody knows what needs to be done next. If there are questions, we talk about them. If we need one team member helping the other one, we coordinate this. We're all connected on Slack, so checking Slack in the morning is one of the main tasks I'm doing as well. And then I spend a lot of time during the day on calls, Zoom calls with clients, potential clients, checking out people's websites to see what we can do for them, if we can help them, what would be the next steps. I spent quite some time on in a coaching group, answering questions and helping people specifically with their site. And then I spent quite some time on analyzing our clients' websites, audits we do. So my team helps me prepare the audits, but the analysis part is usually on me. And every single audit that goes out, I usually do a video recording over the audit's findings, explain what's happening, etc., and then follow up with the audits we have done, the clients we have done the audits for, to make sure we get a call and explain, make sure everything exactly clear, how to follow our next steps, or the action steps we outlined in these documents. So this is roughly what my working days are. Thankfully, we've got a team. I think we're now 13 or 14 people on the team. That helps me a lot. Analysis and strategy is mostly on me and the team still. So this is something where I spend most of my afternoons, evenings then with, checking out how our different clients can approach their SEO, what can be done, what's working for competitors. We do a lot of research on the team, a lot of testing, a lot of research, competitive research as well, to make sure we follow the best possible next step on every single project. And every project is different. I mean, we have like the possibility to leverage findings from one project sometimes for another one. We just did this with a language learning site, where we found something out on another project and we're able to leverage it there as well. But then at the end of the day, every single project is different. Every competitive environment is different. And you need to adjust. So there's tons and tons of research to be done. And a big part of this research is a big part of my day. So between coordination and news in the mornings, calls and Zoom calls, sometimes until late at night. We're working based in Spain. We work for the United States. So sometimes we've got calls at night as well with clients from there. And strategy and analysis is probably most of what fits into my day-to-day work. Thank you for this question, by the way. It's great to have something that's not only SEO tactics once in a while. And we're definitely going to talk a little bit more about how our agency works, how the work works the next weeks. I think it's interesting also even for our clients to know a little bit about what's happening behind the scenes and how we organize ourselves to make sure we get to the level of efficiency and get the results we really want to get. There are no other questions. I think that's it for today. I would like to thank you very much for coming to this call. We're doing this every single Friday. So if you have any questions, just send them to support@seoleverage.com or on a direct message on Facebook. We collect those questions, answer them either directly on the chat so you get your answer fast, or we collect them and then talk about them on the Ask Me Anything calls. There's probably more people having this question that you have in mind. So I'm happy to share my best answer for it. Just wanted to point you to the coaching group in case you want to do your SEO yourself, but you need input once in a while on how to approach certain things and want specific help from me on what should be the next steps on your side, and take out maybe one competitor of yours and see what's working for them. I think the best best way to start is really the coaching group. We have got a good forum. We've got a lot of training materials, fundamentals course. It could be for you or for your team. Very handy. So check out seoleverage.com/coaching, and you'll find all the information there on how this is working. Even a demo video I did on the platform, so you see what's inside, what you can leverage here, and get a little bit about an insight. Check this out if you want to do your SEO but need some guidance. I think probably 10-15 years ago I would have killed for something like this. So definitely give it a try. Thank you very much for being on this call. Thank you so much for getting some time out of your day to follow this Ask Me Anything call. Happy to put those together. We get great feedback. And also my team is as kind as to upload those videos to YouTube afterwards. So we're on YouTube. If you search for SEO Leverage, all our answers are uploaded there, as well as the entire Ask Me Anything live. So you can check out the information there as well. Also ask some questions in the comments, or subscribe to our YouTube channel to get all the new videos automatically to your feed. Have a great day. Have a great weekend.